Hey, good morning, guys. All right, so today we are going to be working on a 2000 Volkswagen Eurovan. One of the problems with these vans is people complain a lot that the heat or the AC doesn't work as good as it should. So either the AC isn't cold enough or the heat isn't warm enough. And what happens is there are two blend doors behind the dash that direct the heat and the cold air. And those doors have big holes in them which are covered with foam. And over time, the foam will deteriorate and fall apart. And you can tell this because when you turn your fan on, you'll start seeing all this particles, dust, and foam debris come spitting out of the vents. And that's a good indication that they're actually falling apart. So when they do come apart, it opens up the holes in the doors, and then the hot air and the cold air are just blending together, not keeping them separate, and that's why you don't get very cold or very hot air, because you're getting a constant blend of the two. So to fix it, it's actually a pretty big job. You got to take the whole dash apart to get into where the box is, and then you have to take the box out, disassemble it, and then clean the doors and then seal them up. Some people put new foam, some people put like the metal duct tape that they use on ducting in the houses, which is probably what I'm going to use. But the biggest part of the job is actually getting to the doors. Now, I'm not really into taking this whole dash apart because, like I say, it's a major job. But I have seen an article where it says you can go under the dash and cut a hole in the side of the box to get access to the doors, and then you can repair the doors that way, seal the hole back up, and then it should be good to go. So I think that's the route I'm going to go, because I really don't want to spend the whole day tearing this whole dash apart. So the first thing they tell you to do is to remove the passenger seat, and that's basically just to get you access to underneath the dash where you need to be. So there are 4 bolts that hold the seat in, 2 on either side, and then there's a cover that you take off of the front, and there's a wire connector in there that you disconnect, and that wire connector is for safety. So if this seat is flipped around, because they do rotate, it prevents the vehicle from starting, because obviously you're not in a safe position. So we'll get the 4 bolts out, and basically the seat is just going to come out of here at this point. Okay, you can see the connector right there that it plugs into, so you want to make sure you disconnect that. So we're going to slide the seat out of the way, and then that's going to give us some room to kind of lay down here and look up under the dash. Alright, the next thing we want to do is take this console piece out, and then we're going to take the panel out from under the dash. Okay, once you get those 2 screws out of the sides, you just pull up on the back and that piece will slide right out. You can see there's another panel underneath. I did take this panel out here, which has 4 screws in it. That pops out, and now we're just going to take this panel out. Alright, so you basically just grab a hold of this panel, pull it out, and then that comes right out of the way for you. Okay, now we have access to underneath here. And if you look up under the dash, there's your heater box. Okay, you have your levers for the blend doors. So we basically got to get up inside this box here to get to those blend doors. So let me see what the next step is, and we'll go from there. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is take this bolster piece out. There's a little trim piece on the side here, which is this here, and it has these little pins. And these pins, once you snap this into the holes, these pins push in and lock it in. I didn't really see a way to pull those out, so I just kind of pried them out with my tool. But once you get them out, you can push the pins out, so when you reinstall it, it'll go in. There are a couple of bolts here on this side, and I think a couple on the other side, so we'll get those out next. Alright, so once you get these 2 bolts out and that one out, you can see the box just pops right out, and now we have exposure to the heater box. Okay, so if we move the hot and cold door, you can see it's this one here. So that tells me the door is right up inside of here. The instructions that I saw from somebody else doing this said basically cut a hole in the box right here, and that's going to give you access to the flap door right there, which you can then repair. So we're going to take our multi-tool and basically just cut a hole right in there, and if we cut it out in one piece, we should be able to put it back in and kind of seal it back up after we're done. So let's get into it, see if we can get that blend door, get it sealed up, and then hopefully get this thing working properly without having to tear the whole dash apart. Alright, so I use this oscillating multi-tool, and you can see where I cut, and we'll pop that out and see if we can see what we need to see. Okay, there is your blend door, and you can see the foam and you can see the holes. So we basically need to clean that up, seal that off, put this piece back together. Alright, so let me start on cleaning that up. So here's a better shot for you. You can see how much of that foam is gone, and that is supposed to insulate the hot from the cold. So it's just blowing all together and not giving you good heat or AC. Alright, so let's get this cleaned up and fixed. Okay, so you can see the foam that came out of there, and now it's pretty... Where is it? And now that door is pretty cleaned up. Okay, so what we're going to do is just kind of wipe it down clean, and then we're going to get some of that duct foil taping, and we're going to cover those holes all up, and then hopefully that cures the problem for us. Alright, so I'm not quite sure why they designed these flaps the way they did. If I had to guess, I would say they have the holes and the foam so that some of the warm air can mix with the cool, just so it doesn't get too hot, maybe? I'm not sure. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the doors with this here. I went down to Home Depot. This is weatherproofing repair tape designed for ductwork. It's like a metal tape. And this is going to seal off those holes. And that should be a permanent thing. So, you know, I think what happens is after a while the heat just gets to this stuff, dries it out, and then it just falls apart, where this stuff is not going to. So hopefully this will be a permanent repair. I can just do it the one time, be done with it, and move on to other things. Alright, so we're going to cut out some strips. You want to make sure that those blend doors are clean so that these stick to it. So let me clean them up, cut some strips out, and I'll show you how to get that installed. So if you haven't worked with this tape before, like I say, it's like a metallic tape. You can kind of almost form it to what you need to, and then it has a backing on it with a very sticky adhesive side on there. So that should go on there, stick really well, and then form really well. So let's get some strips cut out, and we'll go ahead and try to put those on. Alright, so what I did was I cut a couple of strips, and I'm going to sneak my hand up through this hole that I cut, okay? Fit your hand right up in there, and then you can see it goes right over to where that door is. So, and I had to do this one-handed, but I'm going to basically use both my hands and just apply that tape to that door. So we'll do that door first, and then we'll do the other one. Okay, so you can see the blend door now is all covered in foil. All those holes are covered up, and this foil stuff works really well, sticks really good, so it's probably the best stuff to use. I'd say the hardest part about this whole job is just getting your hands up in there and trying to place the tape in place. If you have somebody with very small hands, it would probably be a lot easier for them. It is doable though. I did do it. So now I'm going to put this cover back on here that I cut out, and then we'll get this all reassembled, and then hopefully everything works. Alright, so now you can see I have this all welded back together, so that piece is in there, it's not going anywhere. And they won't have any air leaks. The doors are still functioning properly, so that's all good. So let me just vacuum this up real quick and we'll get this reassembled. Alright, we got her all back together now. Everything's reassembled. And we're just running it for a little bit to see what happens here. As you can see, there's still pieces of foam flying out of the vents, so it's going to take a little bit for all that debris to get out of there. So, definitely got more airflow now. Before it wasn't pushing air like this, so that's good. And I'm just going to let it run for a minute and see if she cools down. It already feels a little bit cooler, but let's see how cool she gets. Alright, so we're getting her warmed up. She's not fully warmed up yet, but I can already tell the heat's working better. It was lukewarm at best, and it's just climbing now. So we're at 113 currently. 114 is just slowly climbing as the temperature's climbing. So we definitely have heat now, which is good. Nice warm air. Of course, it's very hot out today, so we don't need that. Now, as far as the air conditioning, it does feel cooler. I do hear the compressor kicking on. I don't know that it's as cold as it could be. It may need a recharge. I mean, this van's, 23 years old. I don't know if it's ever been recharged or not. So we may bring it to work and do a recharge on it. But it does feel cooler. There's definitely a lot more airflow coming out. There's definitely a lot more heat coming out. So I think that was a success, fixing those blend doors. So a lot of people I know have this issue. When we first got this van, we turned on the AC, it wasn't working. We turned on the heat, it was barely blowing out any heat. We thought, okay, it probably needs a recharge, but then after doing some research online, common problem with these is the vents with the blend doors, all that foam falling apart, and it's just mixing the cold and the warm air together, so you don't get good temperatures either way. So rather than tear this whole dash apart and spend the whole day doing that, because that's a disaster, I looked online. There was one gentleman who said, hey, you know what, go underneath, cut a hole, go right inside there, patch them up, plug it back up, and you're good to go. So it took me, I don't know, maybe a couple hours or so worth of work to do that. The hardest part was probably sticking your hand up in there to try to get the tape on the doors. So like I say, if you have a child or somebody that has small hands, you might want to have them try to do it for you, but it is doable. I did it. But just saved a whole lot of money and a whole lot of time, and I think we're going to be good now. Like I say, we got good heat. I'll probably get a recharge on the AC, get it blowing colder than what it is right now, but I think we're good. So hope that helps you out, guys. I know a lot of you are dealing with this issue and you're dreading paying somebody thousands of dollars to tear your whole dash apart. If you're mechanical at all, you can just climb under there, take a couple things apart, cut a hole, patch it up, put it back together, good to go. Alright guys, hope this helps you out. If you like the video, please give a share, a thumbs up, a like, and please don't forget to subscribe down below. Hope you guys have a great summer, and I will catch you later.